Absolutely.
So we're joined from the beautiful North Shore, Covington, Louisiana, by my friend, market manager with NAPA Auto Parts, Kevin Rainey. We thank you so much for joining us as always. We got a room full here with me at Belma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you again. Thank you again for being with us. This is our personal finance class, which obviously focuses on the money, but before you get the money, you got to get the job. So that's
Yes.
where we talking about cover letters, resumes, interviews, and all the things that go into getting that job that all these kids dream about.
Yes. Yeah. A very important stuff. And I will tell you too, man, I look at probably on a daily basis, I'd be willing to bet part of one of the roles I serve here is I probably look on a minimum side 30 resumes slash applications, sometimes with cover letters, at least a day. Once I
Wow.
get through, Monday is usually about 100 to 150, only because you've had Saturday and Sunday, and I don't look at them on Saturday or Sunday, especially now that it's becoming football season. So Mondays, that's just part of the Monday routine, is to come in and start looking at resumes. And I'll tell you, honestly, it's super important because I will just pass on a candidate based 100% on their resume.
Wow. Now, give us a little background on how you got into this. You're from Louisiana. You've spent time in the cell phone industry. You worked in the corporate training there. You've done everything from cell phones to the Auto by Nature Institute, and now Napa Know How, the
Yeah,
Napa
yeah,
Auto
no,
Parts.
it's been quite a career, but no, I kind of went down this particular path. Actually, where I met you when I was working for Sprint as a corporate trainer many years ago. I don't like to say how many because it makes me feel old, and I don't want to make you look bad in front of your class. So it started there by just corporate training, which then became you sort of became the expert in all the rules and regulations, and people came to you. You built those relationships that way, which kind of piqued my interest in more of a human resources side. Which is when I left Sprint and went to Audubon Nature Institute. I became their head of their HR and their security team, but that's a nonprofit. That's a whole other story what they'll let you do there. And then from there, I went to a company called Intellicom, where I was the director of human resources. And then this opportunity came open to expand to do human resources as well as personnel. And I don't have much NAPA know-how. They like to make fun of me because I don't know the difference between transmission fluid, oil, and blinker fluid. But it gives me the opportunity to kind of expand my resume, my skill set. So I was like, you know what? I see the opportunity. It was an up and coming company because it's a locally owned, now 15 stores across the Gulf South, and growing every day. So I wanted to be a part of that, which is how I ended up here.
Yeah, and that was a great segue because you said yourself you're not an auto parts expert, but
No,
you are a customer service expert and you are a professionalism expert. So no matter what company young people want to interview at or they want to apply for, they're going to have to see someone like you in order to get into that job that they want.
absolutely. Yeah, I'll tell you right now because we're in kind of a frenzy of hiring, trying to find better leaders within our organization, as well as some entry level positions. So I've probably conducted it between yesterday and by the time today finishes, I think I've had 7 interviews, and it is. I mean, the thing to remember is, and you make a good point. I don't know anything about auto parts. They make fun of me. They have fun. We laugh about it. But at the end of the day, an auto parts company or any other company, regardless of what it is, we have people like me where I get to, one of my specializations is finding people, kind of having conversations with them, figuring out. I kind of tell them all, this is a puzzle, right? And there's always a wall behind them when I'm talking. I said, you turn around, you see a wall. I see a puzzle. And I'm trying to figure out, are you, and people, and I don't mean to demean, and I tell them this, I mean no disrespect in this, but to me, you're a piece. And I need to see, first of all, does that piece fit our puzzle? And if it does, where does it fit? Because even though we're auto parts, but we've got a finance team, we've got a human resources team, we've got an operations side of it that just orders things. And these are the things that everybody needs to be looking for. Just because it's auto parts, you don't need to know auto parts if that's not the side of the house that you want to go on. All these companies have complete businesses. Every ounce of a business has to be run, and the only way to find them is through people coming on board and developing a skill set.
Absolutely. And something we've been talking about with our previous guest and with our stuff in class, and I know I can speak for the other teachers as well, is even if a kid wants to go to college, if they want to be a trade person, if they want to get the degree, at the end of the day, when they apply for that job, they're going to have to show that they can write and they're going to have to show that they can talk. Because when we get done here, all of ours are going to get up and do some presentations. Now, they're not super hard. But, you know, we've got to get these young kids out of their phones and learn how to speak and learn how to articulate, learn how to sell, learn how to sell themselves, learn how to sell products, and learn how to be professional.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you make a good point because one of the hardest things that I have, and I'll tell you, even just this morning, we had hired somebody out of one of our stores, and I went and visited with him before we did this. And what a 20-year-old man, young guy, grew up in New Orleans, grew up in the city, moved, his mom moved over to the North Shore. And he is one of the most engaging 20-year-old people I've ever met in my entire life. And I asked him, I said, his name is Ladarius. And I said, Ladarius, I said, you're completely different than every other 20-year-old I've interviewed. I said, tell me why. And why is it that you can hold a conversation with me? You know to look me in the eyes. You know to shake my hand. How do you know that? And he said, because when I would go out to eat with my mom, she would never let me bring my phone in. That was the first thing. He said, my mom was so adamant. And I felt like I even told somebody, I was like, you know what? I think, Ladarius, you could be my son because you sound like you were raised the same way I raised my daughter. You're not allowed, you go to dinner, you don't bring your phone in there. And it is an absolute lost art on the young people today is that they do not know how to have a conversation. And honestly, customer service is about a conversation. And in whatever business you go in, you know, your customers may be different. For the folks I hire for the front line, their customers are the men and women walking in the front door that need an auto part. My customer are all the people who put the blue shirt on and work here. Those are my customers, but everybody has them. And it is such a lost art that yeah, I would encourage you guys, if there's an opportunity to take a speech class in your school, take that class because you've got to get used to talking to people. And those who can have a conversation, those who can control a room, those are the people that are going to be the future leaders in the world, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that goes into whatever business you want to go into. You know, I have kids all the time say, well, I'm just going to drive trucks. Well, if you're going to drive a truck, you got to, when you get there, you got to articulate and talk to the person. Look, this is what I have. This is how much it is. It's going to cost this much. Or I have young ladies say, well, I'm just going to do hair. Well, you better be able to talk to the client about how your hair is going to look and how much it's going to cost. That's things that are so important, and especially if you want to move up in the corporate ranks of any company.
Yeah. But even if you want to open up your own business, one of my best friends is a hairdresser. And, you know, she'll tell you that if you can't hold a conversation, you will never get repeat customers. You don't get repeat customers. You can never even open up your own space. I mean, you just can't do it because, I mean, especially hairdressers, you better learn how to talk to everybody that walks in the door. And you're right. We get trucks that are dropping off large quantities of items on pallets. And I can tell you right now, the better truck drivers are the ones that sit there and engage you in a conversation, talk about what was delivered, asking if there's any problems with it. And, you know, because you're right. It doesn't matter what you do. You're going to have to talk to somebody. Even if you get a job sitting in a cubicle, punching numbers, you're going to have to talk to somebody at some point in time.
Yeah. And, you know, and I always say, me and you can speak in front of a large crowd and be fine. We're not asking students to learn how to do that, but we are asking students to learn how to engage. And like you said, walk in a room and introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are. Now, let's say somebody is walking in for an interview. No, hold on. Let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's say somebody applies for a job. You're looking at a cover letter and a resume. What are some things that you're looking for on there that could disqualify somebody before they even get a call?
Well, okay. So first and foremost, misspelled words, especially if they're basic. And I'm a terrible speller, but you know what? That's why the good Lord invented spell check. So there's really no reason to have misspelled words. So I'm looking for that. I'm looking for, can they actually express a thought? Can they explain to me, right? Because a cover letter should be nothing more than a quick synopsis of your resume. That's it. I should be able to read your cover letter, and then looking at your resume is just laying out. I shouldn't even have to look at it. I should be able to get it all there. But misspelled words, and, you know, honestly, slang. If I'm reading something and you're typing out a cover letter, which you know is a professional thing, you know is going to somebody that's looking at it and determining whether or not you get to come in and have an interview, and you type in slang, then that's going to be off-putting because people want to be treated professionally, regardless of what business you're in. So those are two things. And then if you write me a 7-page cover letter, I'm out. I'm not even going to look at it. It's just too much.
Yeah. You know, and the one we've been doing in class, I said 7 or 8 sentences. You know, you can
Absolutely.
fit, 3 paragraphs. It's 3/4 of a page, especially when you're in high school. You know, it's people know that you're in high school or just finished high school. They're not expecting you to have years of experience. But if you can
Absolutely.
articulate to show you can write, that shows off the bat that you are a good communicator.
Yeah. If you can prove that you can write and be to the point, get your point across, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're already ahead of half the people that apply for jobs with my company.
Wow. Now, on a resume, what are some things that you would see that would automatically get somebody in the no pile?
Well, obviously, if you've got auto parts experience, that's always like that's checking the box number one I'm looking for, right? That, for where I'm at today. But I'm looking, and I reckon if I see a couple of different jobs, the very next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look to see where are you from an educational standpoint. Are you still in high school? Have you just finished high school? And if that's the case, I don't care. And maybe you're fortunate and you don't have to work during school time, which I think is awesome, but that's okay. If I see that you worked every summer, that for me is a big piece of the puzzle. I go like, this is somebody that's working, they're trying to better themselves, make a little bit of money, help themselves, maybe help their family, however that works out. The other thing I'm looking for too is obviously if they work throughout school, they can show me they've worked 2 years at Burger King. What I might look for too is put on your resume that you started off frying French fries, but then you became a shift leader. Maybe whatever your progression was, because that tells me that number one, you're willing to go and do the bottom line work. I just figure that's the easiest thing. I've never worked in fast food because I probably would have ate all the food. But so if to me the French fry guy, that's like the start off. And if you can do that and then work your way up to a cashier position, work yourself into a shift manager position, that tells me that you're in for the long haul and you possess the ability to learn the job, progress in the job, and it tells me that you probably want to as well. And hey, which each progression, let's just be honest, let's be selfish for a minute. It might be more fun just to fry French fries all day, but guess what? The shift leader makes a little bit more money than the French fry person does. So it helps you financially as well.
Absolutely. And we've looked at ways, and we're going to look at ways you can word things on a resume. If all you did was cut grass all the time, you can say manicured and maintained lawns.
Absolutely.
That's something that you guys would look for.
Yes, absolutely. I hate to say fancy it up, but fancy it up. I'm the French fry guy. I was in charge. I might say something to the effect that I was in charge of initiating every food order that came through Burger King. Just simply because of the fact that I did, right? You got to start with the French. Everybody starts with French fries. Just
absolutely
fancy it up, make it look good. Feel it also in that scenario. It shows me that you care about what you're doing and you think about more than I'm just the French fry guy. I'm just the guy that emptied the trash cans. No way, you're in charge, right? Great story. The guy, when they were sending somebody to the moon, I'll paraphrase the story, but when they were sending somebody to the moon, the head of NASA went into to wherever, I don't even want to make it up, but like Houston or something, to the Space Center, and they found one of the guys that was the janitor, and the guy who was running it. He goes, "Hey man, what do you do here?" He looked at him. He goes, "I'm helping send somebody to the moon." Because at the end of the day, he recognized part of what he was doing. He was a part of that team. And so he saw it as he wasn't just emptying trash cans and sweeping floors. He was helping send somebody to the moon. And that to me is exactly the attitude that everybody has to take. And if you can take that attitude, I'm going to tell you right now, you're ahead of 95% of the people that, number one, work for me, and number two, apply here. You got to care.
Wow. Now let's say they have a good cover letter and resume, and you call them to set up an interview. You said something last time that I had never thought of. You said you're watching somebody on the security camera when they pull into the parking lot. So tell us some of the things you're looking for before they even walk in the door.
Yeah, no, and that is a point, and I started doing that a few years ago. If I know somebody's coming for an interview, I know what time they're coming. I assume they're going to be 15 minutes early because I'm big on time. Back in the old days, you relate to my class, you had to sing "I'm a Little Teapot" and get put on YouTube. So, but I'm watching at least 15 minutes early. I've told them where to park, and I will pull up outside security cameras because I know that if they're halfway decent, they've been coached that when they walk in the door, shake your hand, look them in the eyes, act professional. But I like to see what you're doing when nobody's watching, or at least when you think nobody is watching. And if you pull into my parking lot driving like a jerk, speeding, you don't care. I mean, somebody could walk out in front of you at any time. Then that tells me that that's who you truly are at the core. That's who you are as a person. I've actually sent people away. I had an intern, a high school intern working for me at another job. And when he pulled in the parking lot, I told him he can go home. He can absolutely go home. Now, the next day, his dad actually called, And he said, "Can you give my son another chance?" I said, "I can. I will be more than willing to do that, but tell him to be aware that at all times he is being watched." And the young man pulled in completely different. He came and apologized. He ended up being an okay intern. I won't say a great one, but no, I'm watching you. If I have somebody that's like kind of a greeter, so for here, if you came in, you would have Miss Edna, and I would encourage Miss Edna to engage in conversation before I even come out there to get them, because that's where you really, again, get to see the real person. So please don't think just because you got an interview with Kevin that every single person you talk to is going to, if they know now to share with me what they see and how they interacted and how the conversation goes.
Yeah, and I tell this story often too, and if it wouldn't have happened to me, I wouldn't have believed it. When I was at LSU, at our department, we had several jobs open, and this lady walked in, very polite, and said, "Yeah, I'm here for the interview." And I said, "Oh, that's great. Who are you interviewing with?" And she looked at me with a straight face and said, "I don't know. Let me go in my car and check."
Oh, oh, yeah, that's not good. I mean, be aware if you know. And for me, when I set up an interview, it doesn't matter the position. I'm going to send you a calendar invitation. And in that, if it's a couple of folks, like for example, I have an interview I'm doing this evening, and there's going to be two people, me and another guy. I send the calendar invitation. One, it helps me, right? So I know where I need to be. Today's call was on my calendar, but I want them to see who's going to be there and what research did you do on me. I'm all over LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I can assure you, I've checked your LinkedIn. I've checked your Facebook, which, by the way, is not illegal. And I will purposely not interview somebody because of some of the things I see on their Facebook. So be aware that's a part of this process. But I want them to do the same thing to me. Know something about me and know the other person. If there's two of us, if there's three of us, man, know everybody that's in that meeting.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that real quick, because I know, kids say all the time, "Well, I can put what I want on my TikTok." Well, you can, but a corporation is not wanting to put somebody where, I'm not picking a side here, but if everything you put is political all the time, people don't want to deal with that at a job. I don't care who you're voting for.
Right.
And then if you're putting up guns and money and a bunch of cussing and a bunch of stuff, people don't want to hire that.
Nope.
You may be great at your job, but if that's the public persona, they're going to associate you with that company, and it's going to get you in the know immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you one that I see a lot too, and unfortunate or fortunate, makes no difference in terms of especially younger people. And when I say younger people, I'm talking about anybody from 16 years old up to 28, 29 years old. It is amazing to me how many people will just put a bunch of pictures and videos of them at parties, drinking, smoking weed. I'm not going to bring you in here, and it's not because I'm judging you. Do what you want to do. It's a beautiful thing. It's America. Do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, I don't know how. I have to start thinking about, well, if this is what you're doing every Friday night, every Saturday night, what if you've got to work the next day? Can I rely on you coming in? Are you going to be hungover? You're going to be high. Are you going to smell like weed when you get there? I mean, these are all things that you have to think about when you're hiring somebody, because when you hire somebody and they put on whatever Burger King, Taco Bell, NAPA, NASA, it doesn't make any difference. You're a representation of that company, and people start judging the business itself based on the individual standing in front of them.
Absolutely. And then when somebody's in the interview, like we said, being able to walk in and introduce yourself to everybody at the table. What are some other things that you're looking for in an interview once somebody's gotten in the door?
Yeah, I'm looking. One, did you shake my hand? How was the handshake? I mean, I know that's very basic, but I'm also looking for eye contact. If you can't look at somebody in the eye, I interviewed somebody the other day, and we did hire him. And at first I was like, oh, this guy is not even looking at me when I'm asking him questions. But as he kind of warmed up and he got a little more comfortable, he started making eye contact. That's a big thing, because people want that. They want to feel like you're engaged. They want to, if you're helping a customer, if you're in a customer service line of work, people want to think that right now, this moment, Kevin Rainey is the only customer I have. He is the only concern that I have. This is it. This is my whole life is revolved around this person. If you can't look at them, they're not going for it. But I'm also looking for body language. How are you sitting? Are you sitting normally? Are you kind of hunched over and lean back like like you're trying to pick up a girl or a guy on a date? I don't know. I'm looking at all of those things. All those things. It's amazing to me the number of people who will come and sit across a conference table from me or sit across my desk from me and will literally just have their phone out. Oh, wait, hold on, my phone made a noise. I need to look to see what that is. And you're done. Like, I'll go through the rest of the interview, but know that you're done. Because if you can't pay attention to me, the guy who's going to say you get a job or you don't get a job, and you're going to do that, what are you going to do when you're out on my counter helping a customer? So that's just, those are some very simple things. And to me, may seem basic, But at the end of the day, it's shocking to me how, to put it honestly, the bar is set so low that if you just do normal things that, to me, don't be on your phone, look somebody in the eye, look straight, answer the questions clearly, ask questions. I love when people ask me questions in an interview. If you can just do those basic things, man, by all means, you are already ahead of your competition.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's my big pet peeve, is that I always say, and I tell every class I've ever had the same thing. When you go into an interview and they ask, do you have any questions? The answer 0% of the time is no.
That's right. That's right. And they look, and they don't have to be in-depth questions. They really don't. One of the best questions you can ask somebody that you're interviewing with is, it's a very simple one, and it's very generic. And you could go on an interview for a food place, a golf course, a restaurant, anything in the world, and you could just go, well, hey, Mr. Kevin, what is your favorite thing about working here? And that's so simple, right? And then, another question and a follow-up to that could be, well, what's your least favorite thing? And it's good to know that, and you're actually learning something, right? So my favorite thing might be, oh, hey, man, I only pay 10% above cost on my auto parts, right? Which is a great savings, by the way. And maybe you're working on a car. Maybe you have some family that works on, that would be a benefit. But then maybe when you ask me what's my least favorite thing, oh, my least favorite thing is that we're open until, 6 o'clock on a Saturday. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what? I don't like to work until 6 o'clock on a Saturday. So I need to now I'm getting information so I can start kind of balancing and thinking about the good and the bad. You got to weigh that out. So it's a great question. It's generic. It works in every single industry out there. And it shows me that you actually care and you want to know something. And by the way, people love to talk about themselves. So when you say, what is your favorite thing? They're excited because they get to talk about themselves.
Yeah, or ask, like, what kind of qualities are you guys looking for? What can I expect the first day? What type of opportunities for advancement? You can ask that at any job interview. That shows you're committed, and it automatically shoots you to the top of the list.
Absolutely. And look, and don't be afraid to bring into an interview a notebook and have those questions written down so you don't even have to try to remember them. You have them written down so you know to ask that question. There's nothing wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, before I get to the students' questions, one thing, I'm not telling anybody to not go to college by any stretch, because I know in here with me now, I have multiple goals after high school, but you didn't go to college right away. You worked your way in up the corporate ranks. You got a degree later to show your daughter it can be done, but you didn't do the straight to college thing. You worked on those skills and you worked your way up within a company. So, if kids are kind of on the fence, we have some that could go into college, and that's great. We're going to support them. But if some are on the fence, I don't know. What are some of these skills that they can work on and shoot the way up a great corporation like NAPA?
Yeah, honestly, the things to work on are consistency. And when I say consistency, it means come to work every day to do your very best. And it starts by being on time. It starts there, right? You can be on time every day, shows that you can I read this great thing, and it was probably on Facebook or TikTok or Twitter or something. And it said that if you're late to something, it's like you can't honor a commitment that you made to yourself. And I thought to myself, wow, that's a home run ball right there, right? Because if you say I'm going to be somewhere at 8 o'clock, I said I was going to be on this call at 10:30 this morning. That's a commitment to myself, first and foremost. But you can work on consistency. You can work on people skills. And look, no matter what company you go to work for, whatever the skill that you need to have, there is a lot of politics. I used to have a teacher in high school who used to tell me, Mr. Rainey, life is not a popularity contest. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, and maybe it gets me in trouble with the school. That's wrong. Life is 100% a popularity contest. You go to work for a company, yes, you got to have the skill set. It is important. But at the end of the day, you also can learn to get along with different personalities, because there's going to be some that you hate. Just like you guys have teachers today that you like more than you don't like. Some you love. I'm sure you love this guy, right? I love this guy. But there's probably some teachers out there that you don't care for, but you've got to learn to work with them as well. And other than you two favorite things, and then I'll pause because I'm getting excited because I love to talk about this stuff. But when you're at work, always look to learn something good, but observe the people, observe the leaders that you have, whoever is your boss, your supervisor, your manager. But you can learn from them all the good things, but also, and it took me longer in life to start picking up on this. I used to go like, oh man, I hate that guy. He's the worst manager ever. But you know what? I learned from the people who were bad managers as well.
Absolutely.
I like to learn what not to do, and I try to remember how did I feel when this person did X, Y, or Z. I know not to do that because that's absolutely demoralizing. So you be doing that as you're working through. If you go straight into the workforce, and by the way, take any challenge they will give you. If they want you to do more, because all you're doing is building your resume. And that's exactly how I thought of it. I got out of high school, went to work for a company. 3 months later, a manager position came open. I said, right here, I'll do it. I'll do it. I begged him for it. And let me tell you something, I've never looked back, because putting that on my resume, at the age of 18 years old, I was running a store inside of a mall. That has done nothing but catapult me and opened up more doors. Be thinking about that, not just what you're doing today. Take on the new challenge, because it will open more doors for you in the future that you're not even thinking could be a door for you.
Absolutely. And again, we have great community colleges here, and we got some great universities in Mississippi and Louisiana. But, if that's not the path you want to take, there is opportunity. And it's a matter of being a great speaker, a great writer, great at customer service, and great at managing people.
Yeah. And be a good human being. That you never can go wrong just by being a good human being.
Absolutely. Well, I do have some good questions here. This person
Good.
is Shania Smith. She's one of our volleyball players here. And I guess you got the idea from me. She asked, what is the one thing about your job you love the most?
Oh, well, excellent. I'll be honest with you. It's that I get to interact with every single person that works within our company. We've got about 125 to 140 employees, and I know something about every one of them. Now, some of them I know a little bit more, obviously, if I've worked with them more. If I've hired them, obviously, I know a whole lot more about them. But I love that. And we have so many different people, because we've got stores in Mississippi, from Columbia, Mississippi, Picayune, Mississippi, all the way down to Booty and Raceland, which is why I think I was at Raceland last time you and I had this call.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got people from different walks of life, and it's a learning experience for me. Everybody has come from a different background. They have a different belief system. So it gives me the opportunity to learn from all of them. And I absolutely love, and I love interviewing people, to be honest with you. I love getting to know people. And some of them, I love making their dreams come true. I interviewed a guy the other day. I love giving feedback. I interviewed a guy the other day, and I told him, I said, man, I'm going to be honest with you. Your resume is garbage. And I only brought you in here because I want to give you some tips on how to make a better resume. And so we did that. So for me, it's the teaching. And it's also that part of what I love to do is develop leaders. I love to work with them one-on-one. I love to teach them. I love to get them to another place. I'm at a place in my life now where it's not necessarily about Kevin climbing the ladder anymore. It's about bringing people under my wing. It's why I love when you invite me to do this. I feel like I'm kind of giving back, and I'm helping a little bit. Hopefully something I say resonates with one person in the room. And maybe they think back on it. I used to tell you this. I think probably said it when you were in Sprint with me. I just want one thing that I say. I just want one thing for one person 10, 20 years from now, go like, damn, that Kevin knew what he was talking about. That's all I want, man. And that's what I love about is developing leaders, bringing people in.
Absolutely. This is Cortez Maxwell. I'm sorry, that's his brother. This is Chris Maxwell. He's in ninth grade. And he asked, when I have a cover letter, would a good cover letter make it easier for me to get hired?
Absolutely. Well, okay. So it won't necessarily make it easier for you to get hired, but what it will do is it will open the door for you to come in and talk to the hiring person, whether that's the manager or supervisor. So in a roundabout way, yes, it won't guarantee that you're going to get the job, because you can have a beautifully written cover letter and then come into my office, sit in front of me and act like an idiot, and I'm not going to hire you. What it does is it opens a door for you to have a better chance at getting it. If the door never opens for you, you'll never go to work for the company.
Absolutely. This is Levon Johnson. He's in 10th grade. Really, really talented photographer. But he asked, what are some things that I should do to practice my public speaking?
Do it. I mean, honestly, any chance you get to stand in front of a group, I would say start with your friends, right? If you've got a friend group, 4 or 5 people, don't ever be afraid to stand up and kind of be the centerpiece, be the mouthpiece for that group of people. When you get the opportunity to talk in front of your class, I know you said you got some presentations coming up, take every opportunity that you have to stand up in front of a group of people and talk, because that is the only way that you're going to get through it, is to literally do that. And I probably shared this story before. I'll shorten it only because it just came to my heart to say. But when I was a young person, and I'm talking about kindergarten, first, second, third, if a stranger came up to me, I would just panic, and most of the time just throw up, because I was so afraid to talk to just one person. And now I can tell you that you give me a bigger crowd. I do some talking at schools here in this area. And if my group is one classroom of 20, 25 people, I'm excited to do it. But man, not nearly as excited as if you put me in a gymnasium and you give me 700 people to talk to. The bigger the crowd, the better. But that's coming from somebody who used to throw up if one stranger walked up to me and talked to me. So the only way I did it was to continue to practice, and took every chance I had, whether it was a group of 2 or if it was a group of 5 or 50, always take every chance you get. And look, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be nervous, but turn that nervous energy into excited energy.
Yeah, and I think I know I speak for all the teachers that'll see this later, is that is the one skill we're trying to hone in our district, is we're trying to get in, we're not trying to scare them, we're not trying to be mean, we're just trying to make them better communicators, better salespeople, better customer service skills, and it's amazing how far that can take somebody in a career.
Oh, absolutely. Look, the one thing you'll always have to do in this entire life, every company in the world needs somebody that can give customer service, and they need somebody that can sell, because that's essentially what every business in this country needs. And by the way, if you guys have an opportunity, if you have a speech class there, take the speech class. It's unbelievable. It can help you so much.
Yeah, and I know, when I went to the University of Southern Mississippi, public speaking was required for graduation. So, and that was 20 years ago, but I'm sure all of our other universities do have that. Because I look at a lot of degree plans with students, that is required for even the associate's degrees at the community colleges. So that is something that is being done, but it's something you can master now.
Oh, absolutely. Because the more you can do it now, the better off you're going to be when you get to college. You'll already be ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Well, I got one more question. This is Edward Flowers. He's a member of our band, and I think this is hilarious that he asked this, because I know this one. He asked, have you ever gotten into an altercation with a customer?
Yes, I have. Back when I was an idiot. I will tell you that one of the speeches, matter of fact, I just gave to the high school that I graduated with, when I did get a gymnasium full of people. I talk about these 2 things that live on your shoulders, and some will call it the devil, some call it the angel. I call it pride and false pride. It's about a 25, 30-minute speech. I won't do that because I know y'all have a schedule to keep. But a long time ago, false pride used to live on my shoulder a whole lot bigger than pride. And I had a guy walk in. I was in the cell phone business, a company called Radio Phone in Metairie, Louisiana, just right outside of New Orleans. This young guy, probably, I'm terrible at guessing ages, but let's say he was 19, 20 years old. He walks in. It was a super busy store. So funny you asked this question.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. So I had a room full of people, and there was probably an hour and a half to 2-hour wait. It was really long. And this kid walks in, and I was actually we had a sign-in sheet, and the kid goes, I ain't waiting this long. And I said, well, no, sir. I was very polite. No, sir, you have to sign in. There's a couple people in front of you. It's probably about 30, 40 minutes. Of course, I never really told the truth. Just like when you go to a restaurant, I always shorten the actual, no, it's not going to be that long. And the guy looked at me, he goes, man, somebody going to help me right now, or I'm going to shoot this place up. And I went, and of course, then false pride living here got like real big.
You should have heard the reaction in the room when you just said that. That was funny.
Well, false pride got like right in my ear and went, tell that guy to do what you got to do. And so false pride having a bigger voice in my head at the time, I looked at him, I said, man, do what you got to do. And he said, all right. And I watched him walk out to his car, and he was actually had a spot, oddly enough, in the back parking lot. I watched him back up, go out onto Ridge Lake was the name of the street. He took a right at the stop sign. Now he had an older car. He reached over. I watched him roll his window down. He took a right-hand turn onto the service road, which was the front of my building, faced the service road. And I watched a gun come out, and he literally drove across, and he shot right across my store. Now, I'm not here to have a religious conversation, but I believe in God. And the only way I can even begin to tell you that nobody was hit was that just the hand of God came down and protected it. And when I tell you there were bullet holes in glass that should have come through that window and shot an employee that I had, that in that store ended up being the woman that I married, divorced now, but gave me my daughter, which is my reason for living. Not one person was struck with a bullet. And I have no explanation as to how, because literally there's bullet holes in the glass right where people were. That opened my eyes big time to just by me saying something so stupid as do what you have to do. Now, on one hand, I have respect for the kid because the kid told me he was going to do something and he did it. Unfortunately, I did look. They caught him. I don't know if he is still in jail because this was some time ago. But it taught me right then and there, and that's when I kind of developed my thought. Like, why did you say that? Because at the end of the day, it could have killed me. And if somebody had died in that building because of what I said, that's when I realized I don't care how old they are. I don't care what race they are, what religion they are. I don't care about anything other than I'm just going to be polite to people. Now, look, that doesn't mean that when I'm polite to them, even though they're rude to me, and I got to walk to the back sometimes and just curse and kick and just, let it out. That's okay. But what's not okay is to tell somebody who tells you they're going to shoot up the building to tell them to do what they got to do, because they might just do it and it could end your life or somebody else. And look, man, like I said, that's a whole speech, and now you got me like I'm focused. But look, honestly, that's what's getting people killed every day in the streets of New Orleans. I've got to assume in the streets of Jackson, Slidell, Covington. It really is. And it kills me when I see a young person shot, because I just have a feeling that had they just said something different or done something different, that their life would not be over with. Their parents, their family wouldn't be hurt. I mean, just every time I see that story, it kills me. It kills me because I know I could have been one of those people because I just didn't shut up. So yes, that is just know, as young people, I know. Look, false pride sounds a lot like pride, but I promise you, he's not. I promise you.
Well, we're almost out of time, and as always, we thank you so much for joining us. It's just I learn something every time you speak, and it's just such important advice for these young people. But but before we go, why, and I already know it. Some of these kids are like, man, stuff's never going to apply to me. I'm just going to make a bunch of money. But why is this stuff, before they ever get the job they dream of, so important to climbing those steps?
Well, because in today's day and age, everybody's looking to start at the top, and that is not real life, guys. That is not. And I don't care if you're going to go to college and you're going to get a PhD, or if you're going to go to welding school and be a welder. Nobody starts at the top. And if you can prove to yourself, first and foremost, that's the most important. Prove to yourself that you can do something, you're dedicated to it, you stick to it. It's going to help you in every aspect of life. If you're a welder, go out there and learn how to weld. Be the guy that gets all the equipment. Be that person. But that skill set will help you in life as you get a little older, and you meet the person you want to marry, and maybe you have children. It will affect every aspect of your life every single day. It's just so important. It's so important that you become a responsible member of society, and that you're a good human. And look, man, I wish money didn't run the world, but at the end of the day, my electric bill comes every single month. My mortgage comes every single month. It never stops. So the good news is the better we get at it, the more money we can make for ourselves, and which betters our families.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for fitting us in your tight schedule. It's just always a pleasure. And before we go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Football season, Sunday, baby. I'm excited.
All right. Kevin Rainey, all the way from the beautiful North Shore, Covington, Louisiana. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you, guys.